Well, good morning to you all on Wednesday the 2nd of December. There is more to the Tony Abbott victory yesterday to lead the opposition than immediately meets the eye. It's worth reflecting on the role of the Canberra media. These are the people supposedly immersed in the day-to-day political life of the nation, finger on the pulse, that have you believe. On emissions trading, they palpably failed to read the public mood. They have palpably failed to challenge the government on any aspect of it. They've palpably failed to understand that the issue is not climate change. Even a 4-year-old in preschool knows that climate does change. The issue is the legislation, which barely a journalist has been troubled to analyse. And those same people in the Canberra Press Gallery, allegedly with the finger on the pulse, right up to the decision of the Liberal Party room yesterday morning in favour of Tony Abbott, these so-called professional political bellwethers had Joe Hockey easily over the line. What happened? Well, Hockey was out in the first round and Tony Abbott prevailed over a courageous Turnbull, who in the end became a prisoner of his own judgment. But how much longer will the nation listen to people from Canberra, many have been there for years, purporting to know what's going on, when on their own doorstep they can't even get it right about what's happening in a major political party? Hockey was supposed to be going into the meeting yesterday with the numbers. Now, as I indicated yesterday, anyone who cared to ring around Canberra late on Monday night, as I did, would have known that the Liberal Party was getting fed up with Joe Hockey. On climate change, he decided not to lead, yet offered his non-leadership as a justification for being given the chance to lead. The Liberal Party were angry, and they elected a bloke who conspicuously and most articulately stands for something. Tony Abbott saw the train wreck coming, and he and the equally courageous Nick Minchin called a halt to it. Now Mr Rudd, globe-trotting, faces the prospect that his deal has collapsed. About the only thing Kevin Rudd's been identified with, and the only thing he's rabbited on about from a prepared text, I might add, it's clear he's never read his own legislation, but it's been all emissions trading, so that he'd have a Chamberlain-like piece of paper to wave around at Copenhagen while the hairs grew on his chest. Well, now Mr Rudd, as one writer says today, can no longer just throw out clever lines. He must now inform the public on the detail of the legislation, make the case for it, campaign for it, carry the public argument on it. And quite plainly, he doesn't have the ability or the knowledge to do any of those things. Tony Abbott's first act of leadership was to have a secret ballot on the Rudd legislation. The result was an overwhelming vote to refer the legislation to a Senate committee, and failing that, to reject the bills. So Kevin Rudd's got a fight on his hands. The public will be fed plenty of negative Abbott stuff from Kevin Rudd's media cheer squad, but even they can only hold the finger in the political dike for so long. There are plenty of people in the Labor Party who also know this legislation is poison, a gigantic tax which will make not one scintilla of difference to the world environment or Australia's environment. Barnaby Joyce persisted in the Senate yesterday to ask the Climate Change Minister Penny Wong over and over again, what amounts in parts per million will the Australian scheme reduce carbon dioxide by, and how much will the temperature change as a result of the Australian Labor Party's emissions trading scheme? Penny Wong did not and could not answer those two questions. Instead, went on with his diatribe about how the world would end if we did nothing. In Tony Abbott, the country has a genuine and fair dinkum opposition leader with ability and intellectual rigour and a capacity to say things as they are. The negative stuff you'll read about Tony Abbott is a direct consequence of the fact that those who write it have yet again been proven wrong, and rather than admit it, will persist with the argument that somehow this is a political aberration. It's anything but, and Tony Abbott has the very important capacity to talk to both ends of town. He's a politician, he's a firefighter, a lifesaver, a bike rider, a joker, a sportsman and a scholar. Few have come to political leadership with such worthy credentials, and the Labor Party in their heart of hearts know that this is one person they will not be able to afford to take for granted. I'm Alan Jones.